Let's talk a little bit about Patrick Odin's book on how to succeed at seminary. And let's talk a little bit about how to cite. Now, we will have a full lecture later in this course on how to cite, but I just want to provide you with an initial orientation on how to cite. And so, by looking at books, and at Fuller, and especially the School of Theology, we use what's called the Chicago Turabian style, which are basically the same thing. And so you see here that when you are citing a book from one author, you want to include the first and last name in that order. And then you want to italicize the title of the book. And then you want to put in the publisher information, including the city and the state, the publisher, the date, and then the page number from where you got the quotation. For a city like Grand Rapids, which is not a big city, you want to include the state. But if the publisher is located in a big city like New York City or Los Angeles, you don't need to include the state. And for other citation formats, not just books, but journal articles or chapters in an edited book, we do have the Fuller Writing Center, and you'll have resources there. But I also highly recommend you do a Google search, Purdue OWL, and then it's going to have all the other formats. Another aspect that Odin's book covered was spiritual life at seminary, which is very, very important, isn't it? Seminary life is quite academic because it's not church. And so courses themselves do not tend to cultivate a spiritual life, but it's really about educating you and filling you with a lot of knowledge. And so it is really highly, very important for you to independently cultivate a spiritual life. And so I think Odin really does pinpoint something in that when you do go to seminary, there is going to be an inevitable crisis of faith because you are learning new stuff that in many ways challenges your faith that you brought with you. For example, historical Adam. A lot of theological scholarship denies the historical Adam, as well as the miracles of Jesus. And so as you are learning all of this new information, it is going to lead to an inevitable crisis of faith. And so it is really highly important for you to pray and pray and pray, as well as setting up what we call a rule, which are commitments that somebody makes every single day, whether it be praying or reading the Bible or journaling or whatever. These are disciplines in which people cultivate and practice every single day in order to maintain a healthy spiritual life. This is really, really important. This is what Odin says. Lift up your studies in prayer and bathe your research in prayer and seek God's wisdom even in texts you disagree with, because the Spirit can give you very interesting enlightenment about precisely why you should disagree with it. Another book I really highly recommend is Helmut Thielicke's A Little Exercise for Young Theologians, particularly because as you progress in seminary, you're going to be filled with so much head knowledge, and you both are really familiar with the Bible. Head knowledge can really puff up and make you quite arrogant. This is what he says. Truth seduces us very easily into a kind of joy of possession. I have comprehended this and that, learned it, understood it. Knowledge is power. I am therefore more than the other man who does not know this and that. I have greater possibilities and also greater temptations. Anyone who deals with truth, as we theologians certainly do, succumbs all too easily to the psychology of the possessor. But love is the opposite of the will to possess. It is self-giving. It boasts not itself, but humbleth itself. These are such wise words. This is what he also says. Speaking figuratively, the study of theology often produces overgrown youths whose internal organs have not correspondingly developed. This is a characteristic of adolescence. There is actually something like theological puberty. So it is so very important for us to continue to cultivate a spiritual life, and so that the knowledge that we acquire is not something that makes us arrogant, but in fact makes us wise. It makes us humble, so that we'll be able to love others. These are such insightful and good words for us to follow.